They were sold like cattle, until two ranchers fought back. The sun hung low over the dusty plains of Red Mesa, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The wind whispered across the dry grass, carrying the faint smell of smoke and the metallic tang of the nearby mines. On the edge of the settlement, two ranchers, Ethan Cole and Lucas Marlowe, rode along their fences, checking the herds before nightfall. Their horses kicked up clouds of dust, and the soft clinking of spurs echoed against the distant canyons. Life on Red Mesa had always been hard, but it was honest, filled with the simple rhythms of work, family, and survival. Ethan was tall, broad-shouldered, with a square jaw hardened by years of frontier work. His eyes, sharp and observant, scanned the horizon for danger. Lucas was leaner, wiry, and quick, with nimble hands that had once repaired machines for miners before he turned to ranching. Together, they were respected in the settlement, known for their courage and fairness. That evening, as the last rays of the sun slipped behind the mesas, a strange shadow moved across the sky. At first, it was a small glimmer like a falling star, but it grew larger, more deliberate. Both men halted their horses, squinting against the fading light. "What in the galaxy is that?" Lucas murmured, his voice tense. Ethan didn't answer. His jaw tightened as he felt a strange vibration in the ground. The shadow grew closer, and then the air shimmered with an unearthly light. Before them, a ship descended. It was unlike any craft they had ever seen. Sleek and metallic, it hovered silently, its surfaces reflecting the dying sun. Alien symbols glowed along its edges, and soft hums filled the air like a low heartbeat. The ranchers watched, a mix of awe and fear gripping them. Then, without warning, the ship opened a hatch. Figures emerged, moving with precision and purpose. They were taller than humans, their skin pale and smooth, their eyes large and unblinking. They carried strange devices that emitted faint blue lights. Before Ethan and Lucas could react, the aliens began hurting the settlers. People ran, screaming, but the aliens' devices projected invisible barriers. Families were rounded up quickly, guided toward the ship. Children clung to their parents, elders struggled, and yet there was no room for mercy. Livestock scattered, frightened by the strange energy in the air, and some were seized alongside humans. Ethan's fists clenched around the reins. "Lucas, we can't just watch this happen," he said, his voice low but firm. Lucas nodded, his face pale. "We need a plan, Ethan, but we can't fight them head-on, not yet." They watched as the aliens tagged people with small devices, marking them like property. Each tag glowed faintly before disappearing, leaving a scar-like imprint on the skin. The realization hit the ranchers like a hammer. Their neighbors, their friends, were being sold. Sold like cattle, traded as if they were nothing more than animals. A young girl no more than 7 broke free from the line and ran toward Ethan. "Help me, please," she cried, tears streaking her dusty cheeks. Ethan's heart surged. Without thinking, he nudged his horse forward, blocking the girl from an approaching alien. "Go," he shouted. She scrambled behind him, clutching the reins of a frightened horse. Lucas raised a hand, signaling for caution. "Ethan, we can't stop all of them. If we try, we'll be captured too." But Ethan's mind was made up. He could not stand by. His eyes followed the aliens, studying their movements, their strange weapons, the way they controlled the humans and animals. "There's weakness in their pattern," he whispered. "They move in lines, rely on those devices. We can use the terrain to our advantage." Night fell, and with it came shadows that stretched across the plains. The settlement was eerily quiet now, the chaos replaced by tense fear. Families huddled together, whispering prayers, trying to hide in the corners of their homes. But Ethan and Lucas knew this was only the beginning. They returned to their ranch, careful to stay out of sight. Horses were tethered, gates secured, and the smell of smoke from the ship lingered in the air. Inside the small wooden cabin, the two men sat across from each other at a rough-hewn table, lit by a single lantern. "We need allies," Lucas said, his fingers tracing patterns on the table. "Other ranchers, miners, anyone willing to fight." Ethan nodded. "And we need to understand them. Their technology, their weaknesses, everything. They may be stronger than us, but they're not invincible." The two men spent hours planning in whispers. They mapped the terrain, noting narrow passes, steep cliffs, and dry riverbeds. They considered traps, diversions, and ways to disable the alien devices. Lucas tinkered with a small alien drone he had found discarded near the landing site. Its circuits were complex, but with a few adjustments, it might give them the edge they needed. Outside, the night wind carried faint sounds of the ship's hum, reminding them that time was running out. The settlers were still trapped inside, their fate unknown. Each hour that passed, the aliens gained more control, more leverage. Ethan's hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from anger. "We can't wait," he said finally. "If we want to save them, we have to act, and we have to act smart. No rushing in blindly. We use what we know. Red Mesa knows us. The cliffs, the canyons, they don't." Lucas smiled grimly. "You always did think like a general, Ethan. Let's gather the others. We start at first light." As dawn approached, the two men rode again, scouting the perimeter of the alien ship. From a distance, they saw families pressed against the walls, some sobbing, some defiant. The aliens moved with precision, but they could not cover every angle at once. There were gaps, small windows of opportunity. Ethan and Lucas exchanged a look. This was their chance. If they struck now, they could free a few, maybe more. But it would be dangerous. Every step could mean life or death, and the stakes were higher than anything they had faced before. The wind shifted, carrying the sound of an alien command, a low, humming call that seemed almost musical, yet cold and commanding. Ethan's heart pounded. "We need to be ready," he said. "Ready for anything. They may be strong, but we're stronger in ways they can't understand." Courage, teamwork, the human spirit. Lucas nodded, gripping his horse's reins. "Then let's show them what that means." As the first light of day crested the mesas, the settlement lay in tense silence. Shadows moved across the plains, and from the ridge, two ranchers watched, waiting for the perfect moment. They had no weapons as powerful as the aliens, no shields, no high-tech armor. But they had something just as strong: determination, knowledge of their land, and a refusal to let their neighbors be taken like cattle. The story of Red Mesa, of stolen families, and of the first fight back was about to begin. And Ethan Cole and Lucas Marlowe would be at the heart of it, leading the charge against a force that had underestimated the courage of ordinary humans. The night after the alien ship had landed, Red Mesa's settlement was quiet but tense. Families huddled inside their cabins, whispering prayers, while Ethan Cole and Lucas Marlowe rode slowly through the shadows, checking on neighbors and gauging the alien patrols. The wind carried the faint hum of the ship, a low vibration that seemed to crawl into bones. Ethan's face was grim. "They've taken too many already. If we wait too long, they'll be gone for good." Lucas, scanning the terrain with his sharp eyes, nodded. "We can't fight them head-on, not yet, but we can hit them where they least expect it. The cliffs, the canyons, that's where we have an advantage." They returned to the ranch, where the smell of hay and horses offered a faint comfort. Inside the cabin, Ethan spread a rough map across the table, illuminated by a single flickering lantern. He traced the paths they had taken earlier, marking the locations of alien drones, the landing site, and possible escape routes for the captured settlers. "We'll need help," Lucas said, resting his elbows on the table. "Other ranchers, miners, anyone who's willing to fight. And we'll need weapons. Ours aren't enough, but maybe we can use what we've scavenged from the landing site." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I've seen the devices they use to control people. Small, glowing tags. If we can disable those, even for a few minutes, we can free some of them. We just have to figure out how." Lucas smiled slightly, a spark of hope in his tired eyes. "Leave that to me. I can tinker. I've got a few ideas already." Over the next few hours, the two men worked in secrecy. Lucas took apart a small alien drone they had discovered near the edge of the landing site. Its circuits were delicate and complex, but he carefully rewired parts, connecting them to a homemade power source. The hope was that it could send a pulse to disrupt the alien devices controlling the settlers. Ethan focused on strategy. He practiced maneuvers with the horses, planning how to herd livestock and create diversions. He ran simulations in his mind: dust storms to obscure movement, narrow canyons as traps, and high cliffs for ambush points. Every ridge and canyon on Red Mesa became a potential ally in their fight. Word quietly spread among the settlement. Brave men and women came forward, willing to risk everything. Some were ranchers, used to wrangling cattle and surviving in harsh conditions. Others were miners, skilled in explosives and careful movements underground. Together, they formed a small but determined band, united by the shared desire to save their families and neighbors. Ethan addressed the group as the last streaks of twilight faded into darkness. "Listen carefully. The aliens are strong and their weapons are unlike anything we've seen. but they rely on their devices, their patrols, and their lines. We have the land on our side. We know the cliffs, the canyons, and the storms. We can use that. We need precision, timing, and courage. One mistake and lives will be lost. But if we succeed, we can free our people and show these aliens that humans will not be taken so easily. The settlers nodded, some with fear in their eyes, others with determination. Ethan and Lucas could see the fire of resolve growing. These were ordinary humans, but together they could do something extraordinary. As midnight approached, the ranchers split into teams. Lucas worked with the tech-savvy miners to prepare the drones and pulses. Ethan led a smaller group, riding quietly along the ridges, testing vantage points and escape paths. They moved silently, communicating with hand signals and whispers. At one ridge, Ethan paused and looked down into the alien camp. The glow of alien devices illuminated the huddled settlers, their faces pale but still holding on to hope. Ethan felt a pang of anger and sorrow. "We're going to get them out of there," he whispered. Lucas, crouched beside him, nodded. "And no one's going to get hurt if we do this right. I've modified the drone. A short pulse will disrupt their control devices long enough for them to run, but we have to be fast. If the aliens notice, it's over." The first light of dawn crept over the horizon, washing the plains in a soft, orange glow. The ranchers prepared for action, hiding behind rocks, ridges, and outcroppings of stone. Ethan checked his rifle, adjusting the sight. Lucas held the small pulse device in his hands, ready to activate it. The moment came when a patrol passed near the edge of the camp. Lucas triggered the device. A quiet hum grew, and then the tags controlling the settlers flickered and went dark. Confusion spread among the aliens as humans began to stir, realizing they could move. Ethan led the charge, riding down the slope with a small group. "Run! Stay low! Stay together!" he shouted. Families scrambled toward safety, guided by the ranchers. The aliens reacted, firing beams of light that sizzled across the ground, but the humans were fast, ducking behind rocks and using the dust to their advantage. In the chaos, Ethan spotted a mother and her child trapped near a patrol. Without hesitation, he rode through the dust, using his horse to shield them as he guided them to safety. Lucas followed closely, keeping the pulse device ready to disrupt any new tags the aliens tried to activate. The battle was tense but brief. Using the terrain, knowledge, and a mix of bravery and ingenuity, the humans managed to free a dozen settlers. The aliens, realizing they had underestimated the humans, retreated to the ship, their calm precision faltering in the face of unexpected resistance. Ethan and Lucas gathered the freed settlers on a ridge, catching their breath. Some cried, others hugged loved ones, and all looked at the two ranchers with awe. "We're not done yet," Ethan said, his voice steady. "This is only the beginning. There are more of them inside that ship, and we'll need to fight smart. But today we've shown them that humans are not easy to take." Lucas looked over the plains, the alien ship now a distant shadow against the rising sun. "They'll be back, and we'll be ready. We've got the people, the terrain, and each other. That's more than enough." The settlers nodded, courage blooming where fear had once held sway. For the first time since the aliens arrived, there was hope, and hope on Red Mesa was powerful. As the morning sun climbed higher, Ethan and Lucas led the settlers back to the safety of the ranches, moving quietly but with determination. Plans were already forming in their minds for the next strike, for the rescue of those still trapped. Every canyon, every ridge, every hidden path would become part of their strategy. Red Mesa had become a battlefield, but it was also a place where ordinary humans were proving their strength. The ranchers' fight had begun, and the aliens had underestimated the courage and cleverness of those who knew their land and would protect their families at all costs. Ethan and Lucas exchanged a glance as they rode, their horses kicking up dust along the familiar trails. They didn't speak, but their eyes said it all. The fight would be dangerous, but it was necessary, and together they could take back what was theirs. The story of Red Mesa was far from over, but the first victory had been claimed. And for the settlers, the two ranchers had become a symbol of hope, a promise that they would not be sold, not without a fight. The morning sun burned across the mesas, casting long shadows over the desert plains of Red Mesa. Ethan Cole and Lucas Marlowe rode side by side, their horses' hooves kicking up dust as they led the freed settlers toward a safe canyon. The air still hummed faintly with the remnants of the aliens' energy, a reminder that the threat had not disappeared. Many families were safe for now, but others remained trapped inside the alien ship, their fate unknown. Ethan's face was set in a grim line. "We've freed some," he said quietly. "But there's more inside that ship. They can't be allowed to escape with anyone else." Lucas nodded, adjusting the straps on his pack. "And today we strike back. We've got the terrain, the pulse device, and enough people to make a real stand. We just have to move smart." The group moved carefully through a narrow canyon, using the rocks as cover. The freed settlers, still shaken, followed the two ranchers' lead, their eyes wide but determined. Every sound, wind, distant birds, the hum of alien devices, made them tense, ready to hide or run at a moment's notice. At the edge of a ridge, Ethan paused and gestured for the group to stop. Below, the alien ship sat in the open plain, its hull gleaming in the sun. Drones patrolled the perimeter, scanning for movement. Humans were still inside the ship, their glowing control devices visible faintly as they tried to escape. Ethan turned to the group. "We divide into teams. Team 1 will create a diversion near the western cliffs. Team 2 will move along the northern ridge, using the dust and rocks for cover. Lucas and I will take the pulse device to disrupt the control tags inside the ship. Timing is everything. If we're late or too early, it could be disaster." Lucas held up the small pulse device, wires glinting in the sunlight. "One short pulse and the control devices will go dark. The humans can run, but we need to get inside quickly before the aliens react." The teams moved into position, their horses silent, their steps careful. Ethan and Lucas crept closer to the ship, staying hidden behind rocks and ridges. The pulse device was ready, its small hum barely audible. Suddenly, a drone hovered too close. Its sensors scanned the canyon, and a low warning tone sounded. Ethan froze, then signaled to Lucas. With quick, practiced movements, Lucas triggered the pulse. The drone shuddered and fell from the sky, disabled. A small cheer rose from the hidden humans below. Encouraged, Ethan led the charge. They dashed across the rocks, keeping low, moving from shadow to shadow. The freed settlers joined behind them, some carrying children, others helping the elderly. Dust rose around them, mixing with the alien glow and creating a chaotic, cinematic battlefield. Inside the ship, the humans felt the control devices flicker. For the first time, they could move freely. Some ran toward the exit, others hid as the aliens tried to regain control. The halls were filled with panicked voices and the humming of alien machinery. Ethan and Lucas entered through a side hatch, using ropes and ladders to climb inside. Lucas aimed the pulse device at the nearest cluster of control panels. A low hum grew, then a sharp flash of light swept through the ship. The devices controlling the humans blinked and died. Freedom came in waves. The settlers outside surged forward, running toward the canyon as the aliens fired beams of energy. Ethan used a large crate for cover, firing his rifle at hovering drones that tried to intercept the humans. Lucas darted between corridors, keeping the pulse active while disabling more control devices. The aliens, though stronger and more advanced, were thrown off by the chaos. Their carefully planned herding broke down as humans moved unpredictably, taking advantage of the distractions. Dust, rocks, and sudden flashes from the pulse device disoriented them. At one point, Ethan spotted a mother trapped under a fallen beam. He rushed forward, lifting it with brute strength while keeping his eyes on approaching drones. The mother grabbed her child and ran, tears of relief streaking her face. Ethan's chest swelled with quiet satisfaction, but he knew the fight was not over. Lucas reached the ship's central control room, where the alien commander stood, tall and imposing. The commander's eyes glowed faintly as it assessed the situation, clearly surprised by the humans' audacity. Lucas ducked behind a console and triggered a pulse, sending the alien commander stumbling back. He had only seconds to react before the commander would regain balance. Ethan arrived just in time, positioning himself between the alien and the panicked settlers. He fired a warning shot across the room, forcing the commander to pause. "Step back," he shouted. "Leave them alone or you'll regret it." The alien hesitated, unaccustomed to defiance. Lucas seized the moment to hack a panel, causing energy barriers to collapse and opening the doors. Humans poured out, guided by the ranchers. Outside, the remaining settlers ran to safety in the canyon, some helping livestock, others carrying supplies. The alien commander realized the situation was slipping. It activated emergency protocols, but Ethan and Lucas had anticipated this. With dust and rocks providing cover and the pulse device disrupting key systems, the commander could not maintain control. Slowly, it retreated toward the ship, followed by remaining drones. Ethan and Lucas watched as the ship lifted slightly, then stabilized, hovering for a moment before retreating from the mesa. The settlers had won a critical victory, but the aliens had not been destroyed. They were clever and persistent, likely planning to return. The humans gathered in the canyon, exhausted but relieved. Children clung to parents, livestock nuzzled their owners, and families reunited with tears and embraces. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow, his eyes scanning the horizon. "This is only the first step," he said. "We've shown them we can fight, but we'll need to be ready if they come back." Lucas looked around at the settlers, then at Ethan. "We've done something incredible today. Ordinary people facing impossible odds, and we won. That counts for something." Ethan nodded, his expression serious but proud. "It counts for a lot, but we can't let our guard down. Red Mesa is still their target. We need defenses, plans, and training for everyone. And next time we'll be even smarter." The sun climbed higher, casting a golden light over the canyon. The settlers worked quickly to set up safe zones, repair fences, and ensure everyone had water and supplies. Ethan and Lucas checked on the pulse device, making sure it was ready for future use. It had been critical today, but it was only one tool in their growing strategy. As they worked, the ranchers shared quiet words with the settlers. Courage, teamwork, and hope had carried them through the first battle. They reminded everyone that survival depended not only on strength, but on trust, cleverness, and unity. From a distant ridge, Ethan and Lucas looked back at the alien ship, now a shadow against the bright sky. It was a reminder that the galaxy was larger and stranger than Red Mesa, but humans had something that aliens could never fully understand: determination, resourcefulness, and the will to protect their own. The day ended with the settlement still standing, the people free for now. But in the hearts of Ethan and Lucas, a new resolve had formed. This fight was far from over. There would be more challenges, more battles, and more sacrifices. But together with the settlers of Red Mesa, they were ready to meet them. And somewhere in the distance, the faint glow of the alien ship lingered, a silent warning that the battle was only just beginning. The sun rose slowly over Red Mesa, bathing the canyon in warm gold. The air smelled of dust, sweat, and fresh earth. Families moved cautiously among the rocks and temporary shelters, tending to their livestock and helping those who had been shaken by the battle. The settlement was alive again, though the scars of fear and loss were still visible on many faces. Ethan Cole and Lucas Marlowe stood on a ridge overlooking the plains, surveying the land. The alien ship had vanished beyond the horizon, leaving only a faint shimmer in the sky. Though the immediate danger was gone, both men knew the fight was far from over. Lucas adjusted the pulse device strapped to his pack. "We've slowed them, at least, but if they come back, they'll be stronger. We need defenses, training, and more allies." Ethan nodded. "We'll make Red Mesa safe. No one else will be taken, not while we can stand." The settlers worked together, repairing fences, building watch posts, and organizing patrols. Men and women who had once been scared and unsure now moved with purpose. Children, still frightened, watched from safe areas, learning that courage was not just about fighting. It was about standing up for what was right. Ethan approached the edge of the canyon where several settlers had gathered. Among them was a young boy who had been trapped by the aliens. The boy's eyes lit up as he saw Ethan. "You saved us," he said, his voice filled with awe. Ethan smiled gently. "We saved each other. You were brave too." Lucas joined him, looking over the group. "The more we work together, the stronger we get. Red Mesa isn't just land, it's our home, and we'll protect it." Over the next days, the ranchers focused on organizing the settlement. They set up watch points on the ridges, created hidden escape paths through the canyons, and taught basic survival and defensive skills to the settlers. Everyone had a role. Some tended livestock, others built shelters, and a few trained in the ways of tracking and ambush. Ethan and Lucas also studied the alien technology they had captured. Small devices, drones, and energy modules were carefully examined. Lucas had figured out how to use the pulse device to disrupt control tags, but he wanted more. "If we can reverse engineer some of this tech," he said, "we can defend ourselves better next time. We can turn their strength into ours." Ethan looked at the distant mesas. We'll be ready, not just to fight, but to survive and thrive. Red Mesa will be more than a settlement. It'll be a community that no one can take from us. One evening, as the sun set behind the mesas, a group of settlers returned from scouting. They had spotted alien scouts on the horizon, moving cautiously as if testing the land. Ethan and Lucas met them at the edge of the canyon. "They're back," Ethan said quietly, his jaw tight. "But this time we're ready." Lucas checked the pulse device. "We can disrupt their tags again, and we've got teams positioned all around the settlement. They won't find anyone easy to take." The settlers worked quickly to reinforce the defenses. Families moved to safe zones, livestock were secured in hidden pens, and teams of men and women prepared to strike if the aliens came closer. Every ridge, every canyon, every narrow passage became part of their strategy. Night fell, and the stars emerged over Red Mesa. The settlement glowed faintly with lanterns and campfires, but the humans were awake, vigilant, and determined. Ethan walked along the ridge, looking at the homes, the people, and the fields. He felt a deep sense of pride. "We've come far," he said. Lucas joined him, his eyes scanning the horizon. "And we've got further to go, but today we're stronger than ever. We've learned. We've fought, we've protected our own. That counts for a lot." Suddenly, a faint light flickered in the distance. It was not the alien ship, only a scout drone, small and silent, testing the defenses. Lucas activated the pulse device, sending a brief wave that disabled the drone. It fell from the sky harmless. The settlers cheered quietly, but the message was clear. Red Mesa was ready. Days passed, and the settlement began to thrive again. Children played among the rocks, laughter replacing the cries of fear from before. Families rebuilt homes, and livestock grazed freely in the open plains. The settlers had learned to defend themselves, using both human skill and alien technology to ensure safety. Ethan and Lucas worked tirelessly, teaching and leading by example. They shared meals with families, repaired fences, and trained the young and old alike. The settlers began to see them not just as leaders, but as symbols of hope and resilience. One afternoon, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, the two ranchers rode together to the edge of the mesa. Below, the settlement buzzed with life. Children chased each other, settlers tended crops, and animals moved freely. It was a peaceful scene, one that would have been impossible just days before. Ethan sighed, a faint smile on his face. "We've done it. We've taken back what's ours." Lucas nodded, looking at the distant horizon where the aliens had once appeared. "They'll come again, maybe. But we'll be ready, and this time Red Mesa won't just survive, it will stand." That night, the settlers gathered for a quiet celebration. Fires flickered across the canyon, casting warm light on smiling faces. Stories were shared, laughter echoed, and for the first time in weeks, fear was replaced with hope. Ethan and Lucas moved among the crowd, quietly helping wherever needed, but always alert, always watching. A young woman approached Ethan, holding a small child who had been trapped in the ship. "Thank you," she said softly. "You saved us all." Ethan knelt down, smiling gently. "We all saved each other, that's what makes us strong." Lucas joined them, placing a hand on the child's shoulder. "And we'll keep protecting each other. That's how Red Mesa will survive." As the night grew darker, the two ranchers rode once more to the edge of the mesa. Stars sparkled above, and the vast desert stretched endlessly before them. They felt the weight of what had happened, but also the promise of what was to come. Ethan looked at Lucas. "Red Mesa is ours now, and we'll make sure it stays that way." Lucas nodded. "We've fought back and we've won for now, but we're ready for whatever comes next." The wind whispered through the canyons, carrying the scent of dust and earth. Red Mesa was alive, its people strong, and its future bright. The settlers had faced impossible odds and had not only survived, they had grown stronger, wiser, and more united. Ethan and Lucas watched from their ridge as the settlement settled into calm. The alien threat might return, but for now, the people of Red Mesa had reclaimed their lives. Families reunited, livestock roamed safely, and the settlers learned that courage, knowledge, and determination could overcome even the most advanced and ruthless enemies. And so, as the stars twinkled overhead, the story of Red Mesa reached a hopeful pause. The settlers were free, the ranchers had led them through fire and fear, and the mesas stood as a testament to human courage. Though the galaxy was wide and full of dangers, Red Mesa would endure, protected by the bravery and wisdom of those who called it home. Ethan and Lucas rode slowly back toward the settlement. ready to continue their work, ready to protect their people, and ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. For the first time in a long while, the settlers of Red Mesa slept peacefully, knowing that ordinary humans could accomplish extraordinary things when they stood together. And in the hearts of every man, woman, and child, there was a quiet but unshakable truth. They would never again be taken like cattle.